What's up guys, my name is Danny or Daniel. I draw cars and turn them into 3D prints using HueForge, and I also do HueForge tutorials for all of you. This video is gonna be a little bit different than what I typically do, and let me show you why. The title of the video was correct. I did build one of the coolest 3D printers on the internet. So with any great wrap-up video, we need to talk about who, what, when, where, and why for this 3D printer. We're gonna do that a little bit out of order, and let me explain to you what this is. This is a Voron 2.4 350 with a stealth changer mod. The Voron kit itself is an LDO kit, and everything for the stealth changer was purchased separately. The filament I used for this was CoreXY's Witch's Blue ABS and Polymaker's Galaxy Black ABS. Considering I had never built a 3D printer before, that is right, this is my first 3D printer build, the easiest thing that I could come up with was to build a kit rather than trying to self-source everything for this printer. The beauty of Vorons are that they use all off-the-shelf parts, and if you want to self-source everything for a more affordable price, you absolutely can. But I knew that LDO had the most solid kit on the market, and they've built a really amazing reputation for the style of DIY 3D printer. So I reached out to see if they wanted to help me with this build. They didn't sponsor this completely, but they definitely helped me out with it and sold it to me at cost. And I'm very appreciative of Jason and their team over there for helping me out with it. As far as filament's concerned, CoreXY has some of the most beautiful 3D printing filament that I've ever seen. They brought a lot of different colors and styles to the market that nobody else was selling. And not only do they have PLA, but they've also started to offer ABS and even TPU in these beautiful colors. So if we backtrack a little bit, when I saw Witch's Blue for the first time, I knew that this was my color. So I reached out to them and told them that I wanted to use their Witch's Blue ABS for this beautiful printer, and I wanted to see if they would sponsor it. We've worked on projects together in the past, and of course they said yes. So now that I had a kit and filament for the project, I had to figure out everything else that goes along with this. Did I want to go with USB or CAN bus? What tool head was I going to use? What power supply? Because surely the included one with the LDO kit wasn't going to be enough. That's where my buddy Traxman comes in. Trax was the first person that I ever saw with a stealth changer. So when I reached out to him and I said, hey, I want to do this, can I copy your build sheet and just build everything like you had? Of course, he sent me over his files and helped me out with this build. He did call me crazy for wanting to build a stealth changer for my first Voron, I will say that. So because I copied most of his build, I went with the Rapido 2 Ultra High Flow hot end. I went with the Orbiter 2.5 from LDO, and I went with the Nighthawk 36 for ease of use. I knew that I wanted to do USB because there'd be less wiring and it would just be easier for the umbilicals. When I was looking at tool head design, the one that I liked the most purely for looks and size was the ant head. This was a fairly new design at that time and still is depending on when you're watching this video, but it just looks so good. It has great cooling, and Trax had already remixed the front covers to include numbers for his stealth changer, so it was an easy choice for me. I purchased a 5-stack shuttle from AliExpress as a kit with all the tap sensors for very, very cheap. I think it was $40 for all of that together. That was an insane deal. At the time, LDO still hadn't come out with their stealth changer kit, and had that been a thing, I would have 100% gone that route. Honestly, I didn't know that they were coming out with a kit when I decided to start building a stealth changer, but since I was using the Nighthawks for the tool board, I had to buy a Bird's Nest. Bird's Nest is like a fancier USB hub for these printers, and it's really reasonably priced. When I was putting this build together, they only had Bird's Nest for USB, but now they have it for CAN bus as well if you're looking to build one of these. Rapidos pull roughly 100 watts at peak power whenever they're first heating up. So with that in mind, I knew I had to get a bigger power supply. I purchased a 600 watt power supply. To be fair, since I've been using this printer, I haven't heated all the tools up at one time anyways, but just in case, I'd rather have more power available than less power. And the touch screens that are going across the docks, those are the Nomi 2 screens from BQ or Big Tree Tech, and they are strictly for looks. They are functional, but I rarely use them for function. I purchased them so that I could have a custom logo and so that it would look a lot prettier for videos, to be perfectly honest with you. The last thing that I purchased was a custom build plate from my buddy Phil over at Ember Prototypes, and one of his cameras to help with calibrating the tool offsets. I think that covers just about everything that I purchased for this build before I got into building it. Now, most of you may know what a tool changer is, but I'm sure that there's somebody here watching this video that doesn't know what a tool changer is or why it's beneficial. If you're into 3D printing, you have probably seen the Bamboo Lab style printers where they have an AMS that is able to swap colors so that you can do multicolor 3D printing, or in some cases, multi-material style 3D printing. These style of 3D printers are very wasteful. A tool changer is beneficial not only for waste reasons when doing multicolor prints, but they can also do true multi-material printing. If you've ever printed with PLA and used PETG for supports on a bamboo, you'll know that you have to purge for a very long time to remove all of the previous filament. Otherwise, you'll be battling adhesion issues due to contamination. With a tool changer, you don't have to worry about any of that because each material is going to its own separate tool, so you don't have to worry about contamination back and forth within the same nozzle. Now, just because tool changers don't purge any material for color changes or material changes, there is still some waste. And this is a pretty common misconception within 3D printing, that tool changers are just waste-free. Tool changers have to use a prime tower rather than a purge tower. The reason that a tool changer has a prime tower is to do just what the name states. Prime the tool. So now that you know what a tool changer is and what my tool changer is, let's talk about why I built this tool changer and why I spent as much on this tool changer as I did on my first project car. From the intro of this video, you should know that I make HueForge content, and if you don't know what HueForge is, it's a really cool software that you can use to turn 2D images into 3D prints. It's all swap by layers, so any 3D printer can theoretically do it, but not only that, you can use any material for it. I've been playing around with TPU for a very long time, and it's by far my favorite filament. It's so unique within 3D printing and can be used for so many things, from shoes to skateboard wheels to patches for cosplay, and that's what I started using it for, were these patches. The problem is, I only had bamboo style printers with an AMS, and you can't use TPU in those. Look, man, I'm very aware that they came out with TPU for AMSs, but that stuff is basically PLA with a little bit of flex to it. It's not the same as like 95A. It's a completely different durometer. So yeah, 95A and softer just gets jammed up in those AMSs, and that's a problem. That's a really big problem when you're trying to do any kind of multicolor 3D printing, right? So basically, anytime that I wanted to use TPU for these HueForges, I had to babysit my printer. And babysitting a 3D printer takes a lot of time and effort. So the only option that I really had was to get a tool changer. As of the making of this video, the only tool changer that's commercially available is the Prusa XL. And I just didn't have $5,000 laying around to spend on the Prusa XL. It just wasn't the right move for me. So that's why I decided to build my own. I knew it would be the cheaper route, and I could customize it to anything that I wanted, and so that it would be mine. That's the great thing about building your own printer, is that you can do whatever the heck you want with it. The downside is what you're saving in money, you're making up for it in your time. With the off-the-shelf option, you pull the Prusa XL out of the box, you do a little bit of assembly with the tools, you calibrate it, and you're good to go. So there are pros and cons to this. Honestly, this hobby is so similar to cars. It's like, do you go and buy a Corvette from the dealership and have warranties and support, or do you build your own turboed Civic with a guy named Hector?
Be running 3 Honda Civics with spoon engines.
I think something that we can all agree on is that bamboo kind of came into the scene and split the community into people that just want to print and people that want to tinker with their printers. I don't think that there's anything inherently bad with either side of the hobby. I think there are a lot of people that just want 3D printers as tools, which you can't blame somebody for wanting to manufacture their parts reliably. And then there are the people like you and me who want to build their 3D printers and who want to work with their hands to make something their own and customize it to what they need and what they want. If you're watching this and you've built a Voron, you know exactly what I mean when I say that every build is different. Everybody's build has their own quirks. But like I said earlier, Trax said that I was crazy along with all my other friends that found out that I was building a stealth changer for my first project. But I knew that I wanted to go big and have a showpiece for content for you guys. And this is where I want to say that none of this would have been possible without having the stealth changer community and their Discord. That community is so much like the HueForge community, and everybody is willing to help you out. No, seriously, like people are jumping over each other with willingness to help whenever you are having issues. So a huge thank you to everybody in that community that has helped me in some way, shape, or form with this printer. Without you guys, this build would not have been possible, or at least it wouldn't have been possible in the time frame that I've built this in. There were so many of you that helped me in the weekend that we put this together. I put this whole 3D printer together with one tool head in one single 3-day weekend, and I promise you, as a first-time builder, that would never have been possible without the guys in that Discord. There was no chance. So again, thank you to everybody in that Discord that has helped me, and that's where we get to the who of this video. These are the people that have a lot of really good advice that you will probably meet if you ever decide to build a stealth changer yourself. So let's get into some interviews. So tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do for Stealth Changer.
So I'm Nicholas. I'm a moderator in this community.
As a Facebook admin, because I know you're active over there, what are your most asked questions you've gotten since you've been involved with the Stealth Changer?
So this is a big question, I think. The biggest question would probably be where to start. When we start this project, there's so many different aspects to it that it's a bit overwhelming, right? You have the Stealth Changer project itself. and which is the shuttle and the back plates for each of the tools and the support for each of the tools. And then the project doesn't stop there. There's a whole ecosystem around it, right? So that you have the door buffer, you have the top hat, you have all of those things. I think people are not necessarily asking the right question just because they don't know yet.
Sure.
So I don't think there is a specific question that's been asked more than the others. I think it's more necessarily like people trying to understand what they need to have in order to make this a thing.
Sure. Sure.
So like you'll often see what umbilical should I do, and then it will bring a few follow-up questions and what aspect they want to run, what wires and these things.
I was just gonna say, because it's such a customizable experience, right? Like there's no one way to make a stealth changer. There's just like the sky's the limit on what you want to do with your particular project.
Exactly, and it's to be expected, right? Because this is like the typical Voron world. Everyone has their own modification of something, or people wants to have this tool head, or like there's so many things. So yeah, I think this is the biggest question that it's not a question like that they will specifically ask, but I can see that this is where people will have the most
Confusion.
Yes, that's it.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you can calibrate each tool? Like, I know that you have it's called Axiscope. What is Axiscope, and why is it important, for tool changers and stealth changers in general?
Right. So it's very important to calibrate your nozzles so that all of them are going to be spitting plastic at the same exact spot. There's always going to be some little tolerances issues, and that's where your offsets comes in. So we made Axiscope. This is a collaboration between me and Nimi, where we're going to use a camera. Ember Prototype has that camera. There's also like a one that you can build a DIY version of it yourself if you wanted. So we built that just to kind of like help ourselves at calibrating quicker, because we do a lot of testing, and like it can be about it could be a complete evening to calibrate a printer if you're using the IDEX print method.
Right.
So I guess I should probably mention what are the actual options. So there is IDEX prints, which is essentially two parts that you print on your bed, and then it will have like a little ladder where you can see how much offset you have on your X and your Y axis. And then from there, you can put those numbers into your Clipper config and then reprint that thing again. After that, we have what we call the sex ball, which is essentially a ball that the nozzle will go and hit on each of the axis, left, right, front, back, and then we'll go and probe the Z as well. And so yeah, and so your question is why do you care about Axiscope? So you care because you can do your offsets within 5 minutes, and they're precise and accurate.
Instead of having to reprint a bunch of stuff to line up calibrations.
Exactly. Like, I think the only way you can have a precise effective calibration very quickly is probably with true Axiscope. We added maybe like a month ago, we added the Z calibration. You need to have an end stop for Z that is like that the tool can go and physically press down onto. We typically recommend to have a flat end stop on the top, so that if ever you haven't had calibrated your X and Y prior to sending the automatic Z calibration of Axiscope, that if ever they're not at the same position, they will hit at this it would hit at the same height on the Z end stop. So yeah, we can do Z offset as well now, and it's pretty good.
So the last question that I have for you would be, what has been your favorite part about being in the community of Stealth Changer?
I would say is like it resolved a bit about the community itself. Like, like when you have something that's that everyone is so happy to be part of. It is itself motivating
Sure.
to be there. So this is a it's a good question to ask. I mean, you know, like like I like helping people. I like sharing my knowledge, and then that kind of like entails that I'm learning myself,
Sure.
interacting with people. And I guess I'm a nerd, and I just like learning stuff.
We're all nerds,
help.
especially in that
Yeah,
that Discord.
for
I
sure.
mean, you have to be to want to put yourself through 500 hours of building one of these printers. or more.
Yeah. I had the chance to go to Rocky Mountain, and people were asking me like, "Hey, man, you're so good, like talking with people and explaining things. Like, you seem like you know what you're talking about."
You seem like you know.
And like, yeah, I mean, I hope I know what I'm talking about. I try to help, and
That's how I feel
yeah.
with you, Forge. That's straight up how I feel. Seem like I
mean,
know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and so
Well, I appreciate you answering my questions. So,
yeah.
yeah.
No, thank you for having me.
If you want to learn more about Axiscope, you should go check out the GitHub. Again, I'll have a link down below in the description for that. And then, Nick, you've been great. I really appreciate it, like I said. And, you know, people, I'm sure, will be able to find you on the Facebook group and the Discord.
Yeah,
So.
either Facebook or Discord. I will be more than happy to help or answer any questions that you have, especially if it's something like Axiscope that I built. That we built. I will put them in here. He did put a lot of work into this as well. And no, for sure. Anyone that's listening to this, for sure, have a try at it at least. If you have the camera, and for sure, I think you're gonna love it. And if not, then let me know why, so I can make it good.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you again.
Yeah, no, thank you, Danny.
And introduce yourself for me.
I am David Gray. I go by Nemi in the Discord.
So, Nemi, how did you hear about Stealth Changer?
I was looking to get into tool changers and first looked at Tap Changer. It was quite good, but it was a bit odd the way it was put together. So once I discovered Stealth Changer, I pivoted. I started building it, and it was weird.
So you've got 4 total Stealth Changers, is that right?
Yes.
How was building the first one versus your most recent one, and what are some key differences between then and now?
The first one, I found the calibration very difficult. That has definitely gotten easier.
How did you have to calibrate it back then?
I did it all manually by doing test prints and just adjusting a little bit, do another test print, adjust.
That sounds so miserable in comparison to how it is today.
For that reason, I started with only 2 tools and worked my way up. Just because it would take forever to do 6 using that method. But yeah, so that's the main difference building them now to then, is the calibration is much simpler. The first one I struggled a lot with umbilicals, and basically made my own design.
I was about to say the design for umbilicals was much different back then, right? I remember Trax had told me about that.
I was using the Tap Changer umbilicals that were built for a 350 spec machine, and mine was a 300. So the tool on the side of the printer the cable would get stuck underneath the frame because the angle that the umbilicals came out pointed directly to the side of the frame rather than the front. So I adjusted all that on mine, and I think the umbilicals I did about 4 times in that first machine.
Wow.
I couldn't get them right.
Was it just a conglomerate of everything, just battling everything from length of the umbilicals to that original design?
The hardest part with a tool changer is getting them to stay where you need them, because when they're in the dock, they would want to fall over, and like I tried thinner wire. I tried the piano wire, which I didn't have any luck with, but some people have. I tried 2mm braided stainless. It was just too heavy. Yeah, I think just keeping them upright when they need to be is the hardest part. Getting them to return where they need to return to.
Sure. Well, with that being said, I mean, so you said that your design, how many mods do you think you've developed for your builds and just in general for the Stealth Changer, and which out of those would be your favorite?
In total, I don't know. I'd say I'm probably 15 to 20 mods.
Jeez, that's a lot.
I think my favorite is the umbilicals because it solved a problem.
Right. Yeah,
The others are more like quality of life things where I think the umbilicals actually solved a problem that was there.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I would say the mod that I love the most from you not only is the umbilicals, but the covers for the ant heads for the Nighthawk 36.
Sure. Yeah.
Just because I'm horrible at cutting down wires, so being able to just
Yeah.
tuck it behind a cover is so nice.
Yeah, hide your shame.
Exactly, hide your shame and it still looks beautiful. Okay, well that was all the questions that I had for you. So yeah,
Nice.
Thank you, and thank you for all the work that you've done with the Stealth Changer project. So can you introduce yourself for me?
JD on the Draft Shift Design Discord. Name's Jeff.
So what is your role in Draft Shift Design, and why do you have so many Stealth Changers?
Started out, I built my first Stealth Changer, and then got asked to test some parts, and I was always tearing it apart. So I built different tool changers for different tool heads, so I stopped having to tear mine apart every time.
So is your role in Draft Shift just a tester for Stealth Changer, or what? How did you get involved with all that?
Originally, I built my tool changer and didn't ask a single question about it and had it up and running. And then talking to the original developers, they asked me to test a couple things, and then became an official tester, tested a whole lot of other things, and now I'm actually part of the core team.
So what was that, like the time frame was like, what, a year? Something like that?
So my first Stealth Changer I built in February of 24.
Yeah, that was early on, huh? I've got it written down as serial number 8.
Stealth Changer number 8.
Yeah, top 10, that's crazy.
The first serial I did with that printer, I wanted sub 10 serial, so I printed without a bed heater because I was waiting for it in the bed.
So how did you find out about it in general to be in top 10?
It was actually Zombie's video on it.
Oh, okay.
And my
yeah.
girlfriend at the time wanted multicolor, because all my printers were single color.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to be multicolor, and I was like, well, that would be the way. And I had all the parts in the basement filled at 352.4. So I just ordered all the extra parts I needed to add the tool hits. And then I ended up taking that one in April to Rocky Mountain.
So how was Rocky Mountain? Did you have a lot of people that were coming up and just had never heard of the project, or did you have to kind of explain tool changers throughout the weekend? How'd that go?
All of it. I never got a chance to eat the booth. Like, people were filling up my water bottle because I couldn't take one step without having to answer a question.
What would you say the most common
great.
question was during that weekend?
How does it work and how do I build one? Especially Rocky Mountain 2024, because that was the first time they'd ever been out in public. So mine and Trax's were on display for the first time for the world.
Yeah, that was the first time that I saw Trax's in person. He had shown it on Polymaker's Discord, and when I saw it in person, I told my girlfriend, I said, there's no way I'll never I'll never build anything like that. And then, fast forward, and now I have mine. Which build was your favorite and why?
Probably my red one, the 7 tool, even though it was probably the hardest.
I was about to say, how did you get a 7th tool on it? Because the Bird's Nest only supports 6, right? So where did you hook up the 7th?
So that one doesn't have the Bird's Nest. That one has an LDO Hexa that has a spare full-size USB port. So there's a daughter board plugged into it.
And is that board a part of the Stealth Changer
The LDO
kits?
kit.
Okay,
Yes.
that's cool. So obviously, at least in my mind, the biggest challenge would be fitting 7 right in that area, right? I mean, you had to squish the docks together so tight.
Yes, and wire management had to be insanely tight.
Right.
And the umbilicals get to be a challenge, but building so many, I kind of got the hang of umbilicals.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, out of the people that I'm interviewing today, you definitely have the most Stealth Changers. You have the biggest roster. So.
And I still have one unserialized.
You have one unserialized?
Yep, blue's not serialized. The LDO.
The one with all of the LEDs on it?
Yep.
Okay.
The all-wheel drive.
What were some of the early challenges this project had when it was first getting off the ground? Like, what have you seen in your time building them, and what kind of challenges did you face with your first build?
Biggest challenges of my first build were getting pins and bushing. The only place we could source them was out, and you had to sit there and wait on it. At that point, there was no top hat recommendations. There was no anything. Like, it was just, here's the shuttle and back plate that you can swap tools with. Here's the dock, and
Have fun.
figure everything else. Yeah.
I didn't realize that
So-
it was that in the beginning. That makes sense though, being the project that it is, but that I had no idea that it was no top hat had been designed yet. No, I guess no umbilical backplate because Nemi still hadn't been into it yet. What were you doing back then for the umbilicals? Like, how did you route them to the back, and how did that go?
I took my mediocre CAD skills and blew holes in the cover and put PG7 plans in it and ran my umbilicals that way.
How well that
It was
worked out?
rudimentary, but they're still on the printer.
Nice.
Like, I haven't had to change them.
That's awesome.
So fun fact about SC08, that was the very first printed top hat ever.
Oh, really?
And yes, and we actually released it the day of Rocky Mountain. So when everybody saw it in public and they asked about it, is the day it got put up on GitHub. Because Hellsparks designed that at like 3 a.m. my time. There was a lot of sleepless nights in the early days.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all. Because how many people were in the original design team, like in the very beginning?
The original design team was Hellsparks, BT, and Thesian.
That's a small team for such a crazy project like this.
Yeah. And that's still the core design team.
Mm-hmm.
But also in the beginning, none of the pins had screws in. They were all glue in.
Oh my gosh. How horrible.
So that was original V1.
When did, during this time, this was a printed shuttle too, right? I mean, there were no, especially if it was glue in pins. There was
Only
no,
printed shuttle.
yeah,
Yep.
no Phys Tech, no LDO shuttles. Is there another brand that has any shuttles right now? I don't think so.
Not at the moment. There's some in the works, but
All right. Well, I appreciate you answering some questions. Tell people how they can get get in touch with you if they need to?
Discord or DM me on Discord. Ping me or message me on Discord. Like, I'm used to messages all throughout the night because, well, that happens every day.
Sweet. Well, I appreciate your time.
Yep.
So, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I am Traxman25, aka Adam.
So, how did you get in on this project, and how did you find out about it so early?
So I actually picked up a 2.4 350 on sale and was kind of thinking I might try to do the tap changer, the original tap changer project
Sure.
with it.
Mm-hmm.
And actually was just chatting with Zombie Hedgehog Austin one day, and he had mentioned he was getting a blue framed 350, and that's exactly what I bought, and that he was going to do a tool changer with it on stream. I was like, cool, let's build them together. And in his research, he found the Stealth Changer project somehow, and it looked easier to build, easier to get up and running to both of us. And so we both just kind of said, you know, dived in head first and said, hey, let's do it this way. And so we did. And then I kind of really got more involved with the team. Well, I guess back up a second. So he and I built ours. He's serial number 2, I think, and I'm serial number 4.
Yeah, he was telling me, I asked him earlier today how he found out about it, because JD had mentioned that JD had found the project through Zombie, so I was curious, you know, how he found out about it. But yeah, he said he's 2.
Yeah. Well, and even just being, like, my goal was to be a sub 5, and it was pretty close. There was definitely some ordering of parts from more expensive suppliers to get them in time.
Sure. So how did the stream go? Did you guys build it on stream, or did you build along with him? How did that go?
I wasn't like part of his streams, but kind of built along with him. I was a little bit behind him, so it went fairly well as far as building it. And then once we got to the firmware, we definitely needed help with that, getting that figured out. You know, there was even less documentation back in those days, so
Yeah, I can imagine.
oh yeah,
No umbilicals.
version 1 printed shuttle, which really wasn't bad still, but there's definitely the new version. The current version is better.
So how did you get involved with the team?
Oh, right. So I had my printer done in time for Rocky Mountain, and just kind of decided that I would take mine to Rocky Mountain because Austin wasn't going to be able to transport his all the way from where he lives. So loaded up my printer in a Wolf and went out to Rocky Mountain and arranged actually for JD to have his at my table as well, because they were out of tables. And, you know, just was helping promote the program, was kind of being involved, you know, and got to know JD out at Rocky Mountain. And as part of that, was invited to join the team as a beta tester. And kind of along the way, was also helping, you know, with some conversations of designing the aluminum shuttle. That's been in the works for quite a long time, and so there was some conversations of, you know, can we do this feature, can we do that feature, is this machinable or not? So yeah, then was invited to be part of the beta test team and help test the 1.1 shuttles, and then eventually the FISEC aluminum shuttles, and then the LDO full kit was a one of the 5 people who got those to test and give feedback and help write install guides and stuff. It's an honor to me, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's almost like being in the right place at the right time. What are some of the things that you guys kind of overcame in the long run?
There wasn't a great solution for umbilicals yet, and the umbilical inlets. There wasn't anything for filament inlets. Nobody had how to do the inlet end of the Bowden tube path locked down, so I ended up designing a system that uses the BTT filament sensors. Those were probably the biggest challenge points. And even like that machine, for example, I got tired of dealing with the umbilicals, and those are on the ID badge retractors.
Right.
So, that's kind of even still to this day on some of my own kind of stuff.
That was a very creative way to handle that issue. That's for sure. And it makes sense.
Yeah, and I still have plans or thoughts on how to design a setup that would be a little bit easier for implementing that, and want to release it.
What did you initially think when I told you that I was going to build a stealth changer?
I thought it would be a fun ride. Because I knew you had never built one before.
Right.
But I also knew, like, you're fairly mechanically inclined person. You've clearly been maintaining your printers and fixing them without major issues. So I was pretty confident you would be able to do it. But I knew you would need some help along the way, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's definitely not. And if anybody's watching this video, there's there's definitely quite a few short form videos out there of the trials and tribulations that that were encountered along the way, like the Rapido coming with a 0.6 millimeter hardened steel nozzle instead of a 0.4.
Gosh darn nozzle.
Those freaking nozzles, man.
But like that came about because I had that issue on a different machine,
Right.
And Ian Smalley had the same issue and told me about it. So it's
so crazy. And then Nappin saying that he also had this, like, the amount of
Right.
people that had that were having extrusion issues and could not nail it, and they thought that their whole machine was just garbage, and it turned out that we all were using 0.6 millimeter nozzles. For people that don't know, if you get a Rapido 2, there are 2 nozzles. One's a hardened steel, one's a stainless. The stainless is 0.4, the hardened is 0.6, and they're not clearly labeled in the package. They're labeled on the website. I'll give them that. But
I don't mean the number's stamped on the nozzle.
Well,
Just-
you wear glasses, I wear glasses. You know what I mean? So that
Very true.
explains the whole situation.
Yeah. But stuff like that happens, and
Yep.
we're all still learning.
For sure.
And we all start somewhere. So it's about having a good support network behind you as much as how much you know going into it.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to me to have you guys in the video too, because again, this project would not have been possible without you guys, honestly. Because there is such before the LDO kit, there wasn't very good documentation on the particular mods that I was doing, and not to mention all the things that Nemi has done, that I've added to this printer that may or may not be released. as solutions for problems that I was running into and that he was running into. I forget who was telling me. They said that they were talking to you at one point about building a stealth changer, and you had said to them, don't worry about it until you are ready to build it because things have changed so rapidly within the project. And I think that's...
Yeah, there's constant updates and changes, and some of them are coming from us and some of them are coming from outside influences, meaning like the ant head is getting updated constantly.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
keeps us on our toes to try and keep up with all those changes, you know, and extruders and hot ends and all kinds of other things. There's always fresh material, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. The ecosystem
how much
definitely
can change.
changes. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
even in the what month are we in? We're in August making this. I started at the end of April. I mean, even in that short amount of time, there's been a lot that's changed. The LDO kit, I didn't even know that was a thing until a month into it. I didn't realize that they were even working on that. And so, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that's changed just in that short amount of time. So if somebody's watching and they are wanting to build a stealth changer, you can do a little bit of research, but just realize that that might all go out the window by the time you're ready to build it.
I would definitely say once you're ready, dive in. Don't wait for XYZ thing, because that'll be different by the time you get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, sweet.
It's just like 3D printing in general. It's constantly changing, so you can't wait for the latest and greatest, because in 6 months the latest and greatest is
obsolete. 2026 is going to be the year of the tool changer in general, I think.
I mean, we said that about this year, so
that's what everybody wants. That's the flavor of the year, I think, for 26. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you answering these questions and you know, being on this video for sure.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, and thanks for supporting the program or the project, I should say, and you know, hanging out with us.
When I was putting this together, I also had to figure out where I was going to put this 3D printer. 2.4 is not a small printer by any means. 350 by 350 is a giant build plate, and then you have the printer all around it. So just the 2.4 by itself is an issue, but you also have to think about how you're gonna manage all the spools for 6 tool heads. At first, my filament setup was really janky. I had a mix of poly dryer poly boxes, and I had some 3D printed spool holders that I was trying to use for all 6 tools. So during this time, I was trying to figure out a better spool management system, and at the time I was like, well, maybe I'll do a box turtle in the future and use that as an automatic filament loader, or maybe I'll hang a rep rack on the wall for just the tool changer and put some bearings on it so that it can more easily feed filament into the tools. But then my buddy Angus gave me one of the most brilliant ideas, and that was using the Sunlu S4 as your filament management system. So now that I had a way to hold all 6 spools, it was also helpful to use these S4s as filament management because they had dryers. And remember, this build was specifically for TPU hue forges. I wanted to do multicolored TPU printing, and in the environment that I live in, it is humid almost year round. As of the making of this video, it's about 50% humidity inside my apartment. The S4s were a perfect solution to this issue. Now that I figured out where I needed to put the filament, I had to figure out where I was putting the actual printer. When I was building the printer, I had purchased a FlexiSpot knockoff for a standing desk, and it only had 2 legs on it. Now, this desk has been great in general for building on, but as soon as you go to start printing, especially printing with a tool changer where a lot of forward momentum's happening whenever it goes to change tools, this desk is just less than ideal, to say the least. It's very wobbly back and forth, even on the lowest standing setting. So once I was done building the stealth changer, I went ahead and purchased a giant metal shelf to put the printer on. And honestly, I had been putting off buying one of these shelves for quite a long time, so it was just time so that I could put all of my printers on it. So now it's time to talk about the win. I decided around February that I wanted to build this 3D printer, and that's when I started reaching out to companies to see if they wanted to help me with it and help a guy that's never built a 3D printer build one. I'm honestly surprised that LDO was cool with this. Again, I really appreciate appreciate them and Cookie Cat for helping out with this build. Without them, it would not have been possible, that is for sure. People keep asking me what the most complicated part of this build was. Honestly, the umbilicals were the worst part. Making sure that those umbilicals are not too long, they're not too short, making sure they're not sagging, making sure they go to the right side. Biggest pain in the butt by far with this build. People can tell you all day long how to do it, but until you start getting in there and clipping piano wire or clipping spring steel, you're not gonna understand why that is the biggest headache in the world. If those umbilicals are messed up in any way, shape, or form, you're either gonna have a really bad bed mesh or you're just not gonna be able to dock and undock reliably. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that that took the most amount of time on this build other than tuning TPU. You know, TPU is a great filament. I absolutely love it until I have to tune it. Tuning TPU, very different story than printing with TPU. But when you have 6 tools and 6 different chances for your 3D printer to clog up, it was just such a hassle and such a time sink unclogging 6 tools at any given time whenever I was testing different flows, different temperatures, different retraction settings. But anyways, once I got this Charmander printed in TPU, that was the finish line. I had finally achieved the goal that I set out in February, which was multicolor 3D printing on a tool changer. Since then, I've done some TPU hue forges on this printer, and there's still a little bit of tuning that I need to do for those. But in general, I am so happy with where I'm at with this build that I wanted to go ahead and do the wrap-up video. And so yeah, we started this build at the end of April, so it's been roughly 3 months since I started this whole process. One question I still haven't answered is how much did this printer cost in total? I think with everything said and done, it was just a little bit over $3,000 with the new power supply and everything else that came along with this build. Again, the primary objective of this printer is to make entertaining videos for you guys. This is not something that I would recommend building for anybody that just wants to build a stealth changer. There's so much cheaper ways of doing it, like converting a Sovol SV08 into a tool changer. And if you do go that route, you can usually do that for around $1,200 to $1,400, depending on which route you go with your tools. And we're still not done. This is a box turtle. It's an open source AMS. You can hook up a box turtle to each individual tool, and that's what we're gonna do. So the next goal of this build is to put a box turtle on every single tool head, so that way I have access to 24 different colors at any given time, so I can hue forge for days. Is this practical? Probably not. Is it cost effective? Also no. Is it cool? Heck yes, it's gonna be freaking amazing. So if you wanna see more videos about the most over-the-top 3D printer, or if you need help with HueForge, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you learned something.